Hey traders, checking into the stock market today. We are just underneath some very key resistance levels in the short term. Growth bulls continue to lead the way to the upside, and we're seeing rotation in the market continue. We'll point it out. All right, so the S&P 500 is right under the high of yesterday, which is right under the daily lower high resistance from the FOMC high, the resistance that we talked about in yesterday's video. So solid day for the bulls today. Overall, just up 1%. Nothing major, but keeping that slow, steady pace. So I personally have had a bull lean this week. The reason being the cryptocurrency space and what it did last weekend with a capitulation kind of bottom with volume climaxes. And that indicated to me that the most likely scenario was to be looking for a weekly bounce. And just to show you one example, so a ton of altcoins have this same setup. We'll just look at Ethereum, and it was a weekly stair-step drop of months and a volume climax. And again, even if we're looking for a weak bounce, this still, if Ethereum did that, that's 100% bounce. I know it doesn't look like it, but that's what it would be on this chart. So I played the bounce bullish last weekend and headed into this weekend looking for that to mark a temporary bottom. So with that as my framework for crypto, I then said, okay, well, if crypto is going to bounce from here, we likely have to see the broader market see a bit of a bounce as well. So the setup was more clear for me on these crypto names, but then I applied that back to the stock market world as well. And so now every day I'm just looking for things that are validating my thesis or invalidating my thesis. And so far all week, it's only been validation. And I'm keeping an eye out for invalidation for me to shift my perspective, but I'm not seeing it. That could change if we reject. And seeing what crypto did today, you can see there's a lot of green there as well. There's confidence slowly returning for some bounce follow through. This is the daily time frame. So we had the initial bounce, nice gains, and now we're trying for the higher low and higher high. So that's what we're watching in the crypto space. Again, we're certainly not saying that the crypto space is going to dictate what the broader market does. But for me, again, it's just a bit of a risk on, risk off mindset. And if people have confidence going into the highest risk, highest reward crypto sector for a bounce, then I would look for that to have a confidence. I would look for that confidence to seep into the stock market world as well. So if we're going to fail, so again, I've got my bull glasses on all week, but I've got to put on my bear glasses. And I've had my bear glasses on for some things like the energy sector, but bear glasses would be a red flag that would have me say, uh-oh, I don't know if I'm going to be right, would be if this rising wedge breaks bear. This is the hourly time frame on the S&P 500. And we can see this is the FOMC high. Back here, this resistance. This is the resistance from the past couple days. So if we consolidate here for an hourly pullback, we set an hourly high or low, have to break out and take out that high of the FOMC, just like we talked about yesterday. If we lose this hourly uptrend, it won't be game over for the bulls, but it will definitely drop my probability needle as far as making me a bit less confident. And at that point, I would have to be watching for essentially a little daily. The only way that the bulls could save it at that point would be a little inverse head and shoulders attempt here. But the weekly is an inside bar at the moment. And if it forms as an inside bar after tomorrow's trading, which is more likely than not, unless the bulls really show up, then the inside bar has to break bullish next week for the weekly bounce to then be underway. Again, I'm not calling a bottom. I'm not saying that we're about to go up to all-time highs. I'm saying that I'm looking for a weekly bounce, and if it plays out, we can still just set a weekly lower high and remain in a longer-term downtrend, just like the last bounce. So taking it one day at a time, watching that rising wedge on the hourly time frame into tomorrow, and a very clear double top of resistance from today that the bulls will have to break. Simple statement is if 378.83 does not break tomorrow, then we remain heading into next week with a little bit of uncertainty. When did July 4th? That's pretty soon, huh? Love these new holidays. So we had a holiday, and then 2 weeks later, another holiday. That's great. So no holiday next week, but a week from Monday. So NASDAQ's very similar. Same thing with the potential rising wedge that bears are hoping for and bulls have to be cautious of. And it would look like this. So again, if we pull back a little bit overnight, next thing you know, we're going to be heading into tomorrow, and the price could potentially be right about here as things tighten I would expect this rising wedge, this potential rising wedge, to give us a break tomorrow, because again, we're going to see 16 more candles form here, but it doesn't have to happen. If Friday is not a whole lot going on, then might need to wait for it to resolve itself with futures open on Sunday. But it's the same setup, and if we look at QQQ, we got that daily resistance right there. And again, we're knocking on the door of previous price resistance and EMA 12 resistance. We broke the high of yesterday. Not much follow through, only 50 cents or so. Didn't break the high, the daily lower high, 286.28. We came within 50 cents or so. So we're right there. Bulls need to maintain the hourly uptrend and take out that resistance level for confidence. And tomorrow's fairly key for that. Tomorrow, if there's a top fishing play, because right now I definitely have a bull lean with what my exposure is. Had a little bit of a bear lean yesterday with some day trading positions, but at this point, definitely have that bull lean. And so I'll look for a top fishing play first thing tomorrow to protect. If I can grab a low risk, high reward top fishing play against these resistances, and then we roll over and break this rising wedge bearish, then that would protect myself. So I'll probably do that. And if we got the bull break, then I would get back a little bit of profit from the open positions that I already have. So that is where we stand in the short term for our short-term guide. As far as relative strength and relative weakness, it started last Friday on quad witching, and every single day this week it is clearly showing us growth names are leading this bounce. And growth names are the names that have been crushed for 15 plus months. Again, the broader market has only been pulling back from all-time highs for the last 6 months. I say only, but that's a long time in the world of an up-only market from the last decade. So let's just say we topped out 7 months ago, and our growth names topped out twice as long before. And so what we're seeing in this current temporary bottom is the most beat up names are catching a bid, and we're seeing dollar volume flowing into them. And the biotech sector is our most clear example, which again surged another day higher today. Just a monster move off this low in 4 days. I made the post on Twitter, but in 4 days we're up 22%, and the energy sector is down something like 18% in the last 6 days. Very distinct differences. So we now have a weekly trend change on XBI. We double bottomed and broke the weekly lower high. When's the last time we broke a weekly lower high on a bounce for the biotech sector? It happened back here just barely by less than $1, but it happened in June 1 year ago. So that is notable to me. That's obviously a very notable shift. For me, XBI is a back burner now. I'm going to be watching to trade 5-minute oversold back burners. I'm going to be watching to trade hourly back burners. And I headed into this week saying I'm looking bullish on the biotech sector and I'm looking bearish on the energy sector. And when the broader market is showing me to be scouting an hourly high or low, I'm looking bullish in biotech. When the broader market is showing me, and I'm referring to the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, when they're showing me to scout an hourly lower high, I'm looking bearish in the energy sector. And that's a rough guideline, but I'm doing that on all time frames. I'll do it on the 15-minute if I'm day trading. So that's essentially just having different names that I'm looking to. Semiconductors are lead bears. Financial sector, lead bears. Doesn't mean they're showing a ton of weakness the past few days while the market's going up, but they're not going up as significantly. And again, these ratio charts can show us all this. XLF divided by SPY, down. SMH divided by SPY, down. XLE divided by SPY, of course it's down. Now let's go to growth. XBI divided by SPY, up, big way. Look at that equilibrium, a beauty. Who else? ARKK divided by SPY. Just getting a bull break over a triple top. Trying to turn on the jets. PLTR, another name that I just keep an eye on, just a little individual growth name. PLTR divided by SPY, bullish. Who else we got? Solar sector divided by SPY. It's been bullish for a lot longer, for weeks. Today, I played TLRY bullish as a laggard. Cannabis has been a growth name for a long time. They've been the most crushed growth sector. TLRY divided by SPY today. All right, paying attention. Is going to get a laggard move. We'll see. So, growth leading the way. We need to see the NASDAQ lead the way over the S&P 500. And because who are our weak sectors, sectors that are not in the NASDAQ, energy, financial sector, we are seeing the attempt at a trend change here. I need this. Again, this is one little piece of the puzzle. If I'm going to keep confidence, and if it's going to affirm, if it's going to be a tally affirming my thesis of a weekly bounce, this needs to break bull, and it's testing resistance as well. So lots of moving parts to be keeping an eye on. We're watching the dollar as well. The dollar is still tightening up. I need to see this dollar lose the daily EMA 12. I want to see dollar weakness to be a tally in my affirmation, confirmation of my thesis. And right now the dollar is just sideways and tight. US 10-year got some bear follow through. So okay, that's a tally confirming my thesis. I want to see weakness in the 10-year, weekly bull break straight into weekly consolidation, still an uptrend, but keeping an eye out for monthly consolidation. Why am I keeping an eye out for monthly consolidation? Because of the weekly bull break with no follow through, and because oil and other names that looked like this on the monthly time frame, I know they're not directly related, but watching for the names that were extremely strong to be selling off like energy it has been, and watching for the names that have been extremely weak to be getting a bounce. This is a clear rotation that is taking place. The question that we don't have the answer to, how long is this going to take place? Is this bounce going to last, a few days and then top out for a weekly lower high and then drop to fresh lows? That's a possibility. So again, I'm in no means saying this is our bottom for the year or anything like that. Maybe eventually I will if we get further, my probability needle continues to shift with more data and more information on a daily basis. But at this point, the biggie is we must break those resistance levels within the next couple days. Ideally tomorrow, but if not tomorrow, definitely want to get that out of the way on Monday, because as long, again, I'm putting myself in a bear position, in a mindset, and I don't have anything to worry about if that resistance remains. If that resistance breaks, I say, okay, we might be in for a weekly bounce. That's going to cool things off, and the market would react to that. I'm watching Bitcoin as a piece of the puzzle because Bitcoin's trying to, as I mentioned, Ethereum's the same thing, but it's trying to confirm a 12-hour trend change here. And it's, again, shaping up an inverse head and shoulders. And it's looking like it's going to need the stock market help. It's going to need stocks to break that resistance to be able to follow through. But if it were to break first, it would just be a little tally in the confirmation column. It too, not a good rising wedge. But it's under resistance. The bottom line is we're under a bunch of resistance levels. So again, I'm heading into tomorrow scouting bearish entries to protect my bull lean. So semiconductors weak, still holding the low, but again, came down towards that low today. We would have to hold 201.06 and break 214.31 to shift any momentum here, because if the daily lower highs remain, the bears keep their complete control. Tesla, little daily consolidation. We're not in a daily uptrend. We came from a daily downtrend into the bounce from here. So daily downtrend, there's our bounce, nice bounce, must confirm the daily trend change if we're going to see follow through. Google has been a lead tech bull. It just traded sideways today though. Amazon trying to follow through off of its low. And that's the other thing, as I've been mentioning on these 2-day charts, it's entirely possible that things slow way down over the next few weeks if we're just going to do this. Because Amazon might do this, and Google might do this, and Tesla might do this. So keeping that possibility on the table as well. Healthcare, along with the biotech sector, increasing bull volume and easily the bounce leader off of these lows. If you look at the bounce retracement from our last weekly lower high, it's over 50%. Strong close at the high of the day. Weekly bounce is already underway in a big way. So all bulls are looking at this weekly and saying, I hope our weekly chart looks like that. Not many do. But anything under 133.49 is just a weekly lower high. The good news here is this was a very important level for me, 123. The bulls love the fact that we broke that level straight into a significant bounce. That is, by definition, a lack of bear follow through. One candle on the break, straight into a notable bounce. Just like the 10-year is one candle on the break, straight into a pretty notable pullback. Look at the last time. The break saw huge amounts of follow through, as opposed to topping out real quick. Financial sector, also very weak. Defending the lows, have to turn around and break 31.58. And again, if I'm going to have confidence, and if I'm going to put another tally in my confirming my thesis, I need to see the laggard sectors participate. I need to see XLF break the daily lower high and SMH break the daily lower high, because the S&P 500 is not going to go very far if XLF doesn't break the daily lower highs. It's not going to go anywhere. Have to see all sectors participating, just like we saw yesterday first thing in the morning when XLF was lagging behind for the first 20 minutes of trading, and then it hit a new high of the day and everything took off. It's the same exact thing, but on the daily time frame. It takes a lot longer to play out. We're waiting for days for this to play out as opposed to 20 minutes, 4 or 5 minute candles. We're waiting for 4 daily candles. So if the financial sector gets its act together and breaks this resistance, we're certainly going to be looking for the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 to have broken their FOMC highs. IWM, also not really that strong, testing this resistance of 170.08. But again, that FOMC resistance is still a little bit of a ways away. So this is showing me, why is IWM weaker? Well, IWM has significant holdings in the financial sector, but it's also growth. So growth is performing well. Financial sector is underperforming. And so IWM is somewhere caught in the middle there. And again, just looking at our growth PLTR, highest price by breaking 942. We are now at the highest price in 6 weeks. ARKK has not broken resistance yet, but it's had a nice bounce this week, heading towards that level. Biotech sector, highest price in 6 weeks. Look at the monthly for the biotech sector. NIO did it first. NIO was the first to do it and get this weekly bounce going, or I should say this monthly bounce going. We saw the relative strength in NIO. And look at how similar these charts are. If I'm an XBI bull, I'm looking at NIO, which topped out in January 2021, and I'm saying, come on, bulls, just do that. Just give me that chart. We topped out February 2021, 1 month later. We chopped around here on NIO in an equilibrium that broke bear. Look at that follow through. Bear break at 33. We dropped down to 11. 66% downside on that equilibrium bear break. It was a weaker equilibrium on XBI, but it was similar. It was a tightening range that rolled over. The NIO monthly bounce started long ago. The XBI monthly bounce is trying to get going. So XBI is attempting to be a laggard to what NIO is already doing. And now I'm looking at names like TLRY, which again, TLRY is just absolutely smashed. But I saw volume today from the bulls, and I wasn't on it until this afternoon. But as soon as we broke that high of the day, I actually bought right under it at 344, and I'm in a swing position now, just watching for laggard growth names, because we know cannabis is growth. And I'm just looking for some pressure to cause some shorts to cover. Just looking for the weekly bounce, which is underway. Anything under 517 is just a weekly lower high. But again, at this point, we're almost 20% off the lows. So when you're crushed to a certain degree, even weak bounces see very significant gains. And I certainly don't want to suggest people trade counter trend. If you're newer to trading, you want to trade with the trend. If you are 5, 7, 9 years into trading, then you get more comfortable trading counter trend in some scenarios. So for me, I'm in that scenario, but the next 2 days are very key. And I can turn on a dime. Everything that I just said, I've built my case for why I feel a certain way. And I can turn on a dime in 1 day. 1 day can tell me, uh-oh, wrong, reposition, shift around. And that may happen. That remains to be seen. So TLRY, next resistance, we're looking up at 357 and 358 is a little double top at the moment. There's a gap at 363. Then we're looking at 389. So because we dropped so fast, there's not a ton of resistance in the immediate nearby range. There's also some little pumpers going on. And we have a chat room, a channel in the chat room we call Reddit stocks for just low caps that have been pumping. And Flynn pointed out VRM and BHAT. So these are just little junker penny stocks, but a huge amount of volume is flowing into them. $400, $500 million, showing just a little bit of a shift. I'm just noticing, I'm feeling in the air, a little shift towards risk on. It's a very small shift. It's not enough. We need further confirmation, but we're noticing it. GME is holding its bounce fairly well. We're up 100% on GME from 5 weeks ago, and we're still holding those gains. You know, if we're having a ton of bear confidence, wouldn't GME up 100% be seeing some more weakness? So will continue to monitor our relative strength and weakness. I will have a bear lean on energy, SMH, and XLF as long as their relative weakness remains. I will have a bull lean in growth names as long as their relative strength remains. What's tech? What's just pure tech doing? XLK divided by SPY. It's got work to do. Look at that equilibrium. This is going to be very telling when it breaks. Let's condense it down to the 3-day time frame maybe. Oh yeah. This is going to be key. The direction that this breaks. Very key. Again, just like the biotech one. Oh yeah, I'm glad I looked at this. I haven't looked at this XLK chart in a long time. But again, there's a possibility where if we reject from this resistance, you know, we could tighten up into next week a bit further. But just to go back, XBI divided by SPY, that daily equilibrium followed through in a very big way. All right, let me know what you think. We'll see. One day at a time. Do good things.
These turkeys are battling. Listen to their wings. Gotta be a turkey bouncer. Fighting over this lady. They don't care about me at all. I could grab this turkey right now. They don't care about me at all. Break it up.